Is a cell phone is a problem? That's a big question, because apparently, from people that responding and posting things like engineers and scientists per se on the internet, it looks like there is no problem. But I have to tell you that somebody that already, more than a decade involved in that field, things are definitely changed. And what we say, for over 10 years, is now becoming more of the general knowledge. And I will not try to explain you anything from what we actually did, but actually going to tell the fact, and going to show you the fact that's available to anybody, from the source that people actually quoting, that there is no harm or there is no a problem. Let's the facts talk, and after that I think it's going to be much clearer. So let's start with, just again, we're going to try to do it something that everybody can do in their own home and their own computer. So here we have in just Google search, and we try to see first what's the approach of the World Health Organization, the WHO, on cell phone radiations. Now, before it was very clear, and they say no evidence show any harm or whatever. I'm going to touch a little bit about the politics behind all that stuff and how they limit some of the information from everybody. But already now we can see that it's actually says now very clearly when you said the WHO is a World Health Organization, and the IRC, which is their Department on Cancer Research, classify the RF and the EMF, which is the radio frequency and the electromagnetic frequency, known as wireless radiation. Now, again, we don't talk now general in physics. We don't talk about ionizing, non-ionizing. We're talking about the cell phone. So this is not somebody say, oh, cell phone is using less or what. No, we're talking specific on cell phone use. Okay, so, and what they say right now is that as of class 2B, possible human carcinogens, right? So it's actually already established in 2011, based on credible evidence that linked to long-term wireless exposure and brain cancer. And again, we're going to try to show why the information is not so clear, why people think that there is no problem. And to be honest with you, you have to understand that we're dealing something with really great money and politics, and it's really, we definitely think that this is going to be similar in the future to something that's happened with the tobacco industry, but not like the tobacco that has really, other than selling you a product that makes you sick maybe, but has no really other elements of it, of the good elements of it, cell phone and wireless and that technology is definitely has the good side of it. I mean, human and in general, and everybody can enjoy a lot of elements of that. That's why it's going to be much harder to try. But there is no doubt that the cell phones, the phone companies and everybody, that this is one of the biggest industries, and they have so much power and so much influence. And I'm going to show you with their own words, right, what's actually going on, and you're going to do your own conclusion. But this is definitely going to be, and no doubt of what's going on. So let's just go just to another, Google search, is cell phone radiation harmful? Again, the International Agency of Research on Cancer has classified it as possible human. And again, this is talking about the cell phone itself. So this is just by itself, just by seeing this, I think, in risk, you're just taking the measure to medicate it. That's the normal conception. And this is debugs, right away, all the people that says, oh, this is not really, it's not whatever. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the technology, which is it's a very complex, very deep element. But first, we're just going to put it on the surface. What's the actual fact talk about? Now, we're going to go now to the Center of Disease and Control and Prevention, right? So this is an official site. Again, you can see I put it in purpose like that so you can see and you can access it and see exactly what it is. And then this is about radiation and your health. Can using a cell phone cause cancer? So this is, and again, this is talk about cancer. There is other elements that definitely, not everything is about cancer. If you want to have a quality of life, even if it's not give you that extent, it's definitely, if it's doing, or if it's suspected, if it's even close to do something similar to cancer, you can understand what's the other what's the other elements of health issue that it can cause. But let's just read it from their own mouth, from their own thing. This is not something, this is not an alternative website. This is what they say, okay? And they say like that. There is no specific evidence, and you will see that a lot. If somebody says something, they never say it's safe. They never say it's okay, nothing like that, even though sometimes in court they say that, and we're going to touch it a little bit later. They say no evidence yet, something in that, and we going to try to understand a little bit why actually they're saying that, okay? So they actually limit, one of the conditions of the WHO, the World Health Organization, on doing testing and trying to see results is actually limit the time frame of that test, which by definition, it's almost, let's say that if the actual effect is 10 years, it's taking, a little bit longer. But if they limit it to only 5 years, or even they limit it to a certain age group, let's say not the older, so obviously those people was not exposed enough, and therefore the result going to be in their favor or what they want to show. Anyway, so let's just try to understand. So here it says there is no specific evidence that provided the definite answer on that question. Some organizations recommended a caution in cell phone. So, why do you need a caution if it's really safe, right? So more research is needed, like they're always going to say. We know if you're using a cell phone, to know if really using a cell phone causes the health effects. Okay, let's continue a bit about it. Does cell phones give, or what we call emit radiation? Yes, cell phone is a cordless, and any really cordless, any wireless use radio frequency radiations to send signals. That's the basic, anything that work by wire have to transmit, and by transmitting you also emitting radiation, right? RF difference from type of radiation, like they talking again about the ionizing and the non-ionizing. Obviously the X-ray, the alpha, beta, gamma ray, they're very dangerous, obviously, and they don't talk about that. But we don't know for sure. Look for the language. We don't know for sure if RF radiation from cell phone can cause health problem years later. The International Agency of Research on Cancer, here they have to say, has classified RF radiation as a possible human cancer. So they say, well, we know something, whatever. Now, again, if you're going to try and continue to see, they say you have to do some, caution using some element. And this is in general also what we say, even if you don't know, you want to be, it's better safe than sorry. Okay, so, but that looks still very vague, right? Now, I want you to take you to an actual, this is the National Library of Medicine, and this it's article, but this is actually show and explain a lot of the politics and why we don't know for sure what we're supposed to know. Okay, and this is actually the World Health Organization, radio frequency radiation and health, hard nuts to crack. This is actually, I want you to understand that this is official document, and this is actually talk about what's in Google. They kind of coding the agency for research in cancer. And again, you have to understand that agency is part of an advisor for the World Health Organizations. And here it says, in May 2011, the International Agency of Research on Cancer evaluate cancer risk from radiofrequency radiation. Human epidemiological studies gave evidence of increased risk of glioma and acoustic neuroma RF radiation was classified as group 2B, which what we talk about, a possible human carcinogen, right? So this is definitely, a conclusion in a way that they have, that basically they just repeat it over here. The reason why they repeat it over here, because they want to say that they want, based on that, to continue in doing and maybe changing some of the policies, but they've been blocked by the politicians. Okay, so let's see where it actually says that. So what they say, you see, this is again, we're talking about here it says it turned out that 5 out of the 6 members of the core group in charge of the draft are affiliated with international commissions on non-ionizing radiation protections, and industry loyal to the to basically to the cell phone companies, and those have a serious conflict of interest. Just by the ICNIRP evaluation of non-thermal biological effect. This is actually talking about the non-thermal, which is the one that are a little bit more scary, because the thermal is the one that actually create the heat. It has its own problem, that we talk about. But here, this is actually talking about something a little bit more serious. So this is the biological effect of the RF radiation, and dismissed as a scientific evidence of adverse health effects. This has provoked many comments sent to the WHO. However, the meeting of March, they're talking about something very, very specific. At the WHO Geneva office, it was stated that the WHO has no intention to change. So actually, one of the complaints that those scientists did is that they say, how come you putting 5 out of 6 member that's supposed to give that, and they all have a problem with conflict of interest. But again, this is we have to understand, and I want to emphasize that eventually the actual warning and the actual decision of what actually the wording is done by politicians and not by the scientific community and the actual people that the World Health Organization hired to do the job, in other words, right? So here, let's just do a little bit of the introduction. And again, this is all online. This is all you can check and access to everybody, right? The use of the wireless digital technology has grown rapidly during the last couple of decades. And we know that even when we talk today, this is about 2017, we talk about even much, 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 much greater, especially in all ages. During use of mobile phone and cordless phone, again, we're talking specific, not general, not about ionizing energy, whatever, because some people says, yeah, but in the phone is not so much or whatever. We're talking specific on the phones and the wireless. Okay, so during the mobile phone and cordless phone emit radio frequency radiations, the brain, we're talking about something very specific, the brain of the main target organ for the RF emissions from the handheld wireless phone. Evaluation of the scientific evidence of the brain tumor risk made in May. This is what we're talking about originally by the International Agency of Research on Cancer and the World Health Organization. The IARC, so the Research of Development, they actually act independent financially and has and its own governing and scientific councils, which WHO staff only attend as observers. So in other words, what they're saying, when we did the research, we are independent, but we are part of the WHO, of the World Health Organization, and therefore they have an observer, right? So I'm not gonna, if you're welcome to go and read everything, because I want to cover some other things, but it's very, very clear of the scientific that being hired by the government really are for sure 100% convinced that there is a high risk, there is a risk. And the only thing what they're trying to do is says, let's work on something. So at least either we're making the public more aware, or we're going to make even some more precautions for the health of the people, right? Exposure from mobile base station, wireless, Wi-Fi access point. This is actually here when they talk about the general, thing as the source of the RF radiation is exposure for mobile phone, base station, Wi-Fi access points, smartphone, laptop, tablet, can be long term, sometimes around the clock, both at home and school. For children, risk may be accumulated, right, accentuated, right, because of the accumulative effect during the long lifetimes. In other words, when you expose more to it, it's actually there is a cumulative effect. It's like almost like cooking in portions. So eventually, when you expose enough time, it's gonna do the things, and we know, all us know how much more we use even the cell phone and tablets and stuff like that at home and at work, right? Developing an immature cell can also be more sensitive to exposure of RF radiation. Again, everything it's here, it's all based, on scientifics. This is everything you see over here. This is actually part of the government. I want you to understand. So this is not somebody that against or anything. This is the scientific community or scientific, science people that work really for the government. The government actually hired them to advise, but strangely, and you can see in that documents, they didn't take the advice that their own, science people gave them. And not because they have an alternative, not because they have somebody else that did something else, just because the politicians, the non-science people, non-medical people, and they did the decision. And you will see the frustration actually in this document, which again, this is an official document that show the politics inside, all these bigs. And we're gonna touch just a bit about it to show you how the cell phone industry using all their might, all their money, all their power to depress and affecting and influencing on the government and everybody else to not to talk about that danger. And unfortunately, that's the situation, right? So again, this is a very long, which definitely it's good to read. But I want to take you to kind of almost the conclusion of that. You can go over that. In general, it's talking how much it's very clear that there is a problem, and they don't understand why, really the government and the World Health Organization don't change their position and don't try to either get more awareness, doing the right things to protect the so here, for example, it says in the WHO fact sheets, right? It's also started as the WHO will conduct a formal risk assessment of the study's health concerns, outcomes of the radio frequency fields exposure in 2012. So after this, study that they order and they got, which actually basically says that there is a very high risk for tumor and other problems. The pretense question. So they actually says we're gonna go over that, and we're gonna make if we need to do any kind of changes. But we can see over here that why WHO was so keen to make the new risk evaluation shortly after the ARC evaluations. It was hardly expected that new study would be published in short time, changing the classification of RF radiation as possible. As possible group to be what we say carcinogen, considering the WHO statement of no adverse health effects. The aim might have been undermined. The IARC decision to give the telecom industry a clean bill of health. It might, however, be argued that as a result of the IARC classification, it was necessary for WHO to also look on the other effect and not just the tumor. So it actually says why they give them clean bill. Why did they try to do something about it when if they already have a very again, research that they order themselves, and it says about that they should actually continue and see even if what other health effect that can have. But they didn't do that. Again, I mean, I don't want to go all over the stuff, but I think in the conclusion it says, you see, it says the meeting at WHO was an obvious disappointment. And again, this is people that work for them. This is their own scientific people, and they say during the discussion, the WHO officials showed a little interest to collaborate with the scientists converted in the meeting, in spite of the scientist evidence on the adverse health effects. There is in-house expert seems to be a member of the ICNIRP, although not exclusively. This may explain why only short-term thermal effects from RF radiation are accepted as proof of harm, and why non-thermal biological effects are ignored. Again, this is just show you just a bit about the politics, the politics that they use to kind of depress the actual scientists, and they don't understand how they're making this statement when all the people that actually know about those things say the opposite. You know what I mean? So it actually says the RF radiation, but also the credibility of WHO as a protector of the World Health, as a protector of the health, World Health. Seriously enough, the monograph will be the hallmark for years to come on evaluation of health hazard from RF radiation, and pave the way to increasing exposure of RF radiations to people and the environment. Again, it's talking about children, and they don't understand. This is like, you can see from here, if you read the level of kind of they don't really understand why they choose to ignore it. It is unknown. It says it is unknown if WHO has responded to this evidence or suggest scientific misconduct. To evaluate cancer risk, if necessary, to include scientists with competence in the medicines, especially oncology. Furthermore, what are the personal advantage, at least for the short time, for those refusing to accept? Again, they're talking about WHO that refusing to accept peer review and scientific publication on the adverse effect of the health and environments from the RF radiation. Ironically enough, whether knowingly or not, the WHO staff seems to protect themselves from high involuntary RF radiations level, at least for the. I'm not gonna get to that, but I have to tell you that we know from elements that what they're talking about, the WHO in Geneva, the offices actually protected from radiation. I mean, this is what they call ironic, because they don't do anything for other people. But again, this is going to give you, this is actually answer all the people that first, it's definitely, there is huge risk, not just small risk. This is risk, what we're talking here specifically just about, the tumor and cancer, but tumor and cancer, this is the extreme. We don't talk about all the other effects, that people complain from RF, and they don't want to really to get deep into that and check it. And a lot of people say, oh no, it's safe or whatever. And I want you to understand that this is just a small window to understand how big money suppress information. And this is really what, our biggest problem. Well, in order for you, if you don't believe how much this money, so let me just tell you a small story, and this is actually about Berkeley in California. So there is a small city in California. I think it's about 100,000 people. This, they have an ordinance in the city. Again, city of, 100,000 people. Maybe, I think, again, this is go back, and you see how back it's go for 2010. They actually wants to do an ordinance that's gonna mandate the stores that's selling cell phones to post the big, to posted the risk that actually included in the cell phone. So the FCC require the cell phones to put kind of a warning that is in your phone. Nobody know about it, but it's in your phone. And the only thing that the city wants to do is says, well, if the warning is nobody can find it when they do the research and they see people not just not aware of it, but even if I tell you about it and I encourage you to find it, you were not going to find it. And they said, well, we need to put the post. And so people are going to be aware of it and going to be, going to take the measure, everybody in their own, and which look very simple. And again, I think back then they have maybe 20 stores. That's what we're talking about. And crazy enough, the wireless industry association. So in other words, think about it. All the industry of that related to the wireless, which is all the cellular phone and cellular provider, which is insane amount of money. And they did association because a small city in California wants to post a warning. And you will see that they don't talk about science at all. They talk about just the freedom of the people to know. And what it says like that. The ordinance was proposed in 2010 and was passed in 2015 and immediately slapped a lawsuit from the wireless industry. Okay, Berkeley was the first city in the nation to implement that ordinance, right? And you were not gonna believe, but this is since 2010. It didn't finish, right? And we talk about that this is the 5th time, so they already won 5 times, and they never let go. You see, like here in April 2020, the city, which is the cellular association wireless industry, filed another appeal to the Supreme Court. So this is after, look, 2019, 2018, and then 2008. If you hear just the what's going on, you say, why an industry of enormous size care, let's say even if they're wrong or right? Why they care about a warning that everybody know about the warning? They didn't say anything that is not something new. That's actually something the FCC tell the industry to put in their phone. So why they care so much? This is just to show you the level of money and the level of politics that been involved. This is on just a small city. They are very stubborn. I mean, anybody else will give up long time ago, because this is just they want to put such an enormous pressure in money and time and everything to depress any kind of, even not the smallest things that might gonna happen. And they imagine if they do it just in a small city in California, how much pressure they put on the World Health Organization and politicians and everything else. So, and this is about you guys. This is about your own health. I just give you a fact. I just give you something. Again, everything that I show you right now, it's you can access it online. This is access to everybody. This is a public information. And the reason we say why it's public, right? Why they don't hide that? Well, they know that in the future it's going to be a very big lawsuit against that, and they will always going to go back and say, well, we actually were pretty transparent, even though everybody involved in transmitting information will depress it and you're not going to get it. So I really encourage each one of you, and especially the people that playing that they know whatever, just do a little bit homework. And I think it's worth these tiny things to keep you safer, being more aware. We don't want anybody ignore technology or not using technology. We just want you to be aware so you use it correctly and in a much safer way. Okay, so let's just do just another just few small thing that nobody telling you. There is SAR. I'm not going to get all to that, but there is I want you to understand that when the industry in that size, they're actually the one that eventually build that test and the limits, so it can avoid what we call real life situation. But this is just for example. It says wireless, brace, earring, and hip replacement metals can increase wireless radiation absorption into the body. So in other words, this is like in a real life, they tell you anything you have in your body which is metal, glasses, earring, implants, whatever it is, actually will increase the SAR. So this is something, in the test you will never know. This is just another, again, this is another thing, just so you know, again, this is online, it's available to anybody. Exposure limit, the underestimation of the absorption cell phone radiation, especially in children. In other words, again, everybody show it in a certain way, but in real life, it's much more. At least if you know about it, you're gonna try to kind of mitigate it. And really, this is where we come, right? We actually a high-tech company, and we doing bio search and stuff like that, and we're touching a very 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 complicated area, which is very hard to explain to the people in a very very simple way. But just give you just a bit of what it is, so and when if anybody all those internet keyboard geniuses that say scam, not real, all that stuff, this is only they didn't do any work. We don't know their credentials. When they say they engineer, we don't know where they learn. Apparently none of them actually bought our products, tested in the lab, did anything about it. And in the other hands, I'm going to show you now the highest rank ever. We didn't use just the regular people that we find. We find out who's the top in the nation, in the United States, and other countries, but who's the top, and go to them and verify, retest. We did everything possible to promise you that we're giving you the best technology and the best product to mitigate those harmful effects. And again, this is free for you. If you obviously you don't have to buy it, but if you're aware of it, I'm sure you're gonna try to see what it is. I mean, the first, I'm gonna show you a very very short. Again, this is all gonna be available to anybody that wants to go in depth to it. Again, this is a very very high and complex. This is, we're talking about atomic and subatomic level, so it's very very complex physics and science, but I'm encourage you to check on each one of anything that you see over here, and you understand who's backed all that stuff, and it's not just somebody that claim is somebody on the internet. So this is actually a specific study that done in New York City in the College of Technology, and this study was done specifically on our technology, which is the mobile tech, and done on mobile phone radiation. Again, this is those people, you can check on them. They are one of the top scientists in that effect, in radiations and bio effect. Dr. Krinker and Professor Aaron, they are, I mean, you can check on each one of them. Each one of them publish a lot of scientific articles and to understand it. But for our purposes, again, this report focused on the studies of specially processed aluminum mini card. This is actually one of the products we have for cell phone. We actually now come up soon with another product that not just protect you from the cell phone, but benefit you in other ways. This is going to be actually the card itself, which is coming soon. But let's go a little bit to what it is. So, especially processed SIM card, both of which were supplied to us by Bodywell USA. In multiple experiments, we have tested those specially processed aluminum versus standard aluminum. In other words, all this test was also kind of what they call the placebo, putting the same aluminum, one which treated, which obviously we're putting the technology inside, and one is just generic one, just to see what's the difference. But I mean, again, this is a very, very respectable university and respectable people that doing it for their life. So they did it according to all, the highest level required. I mean, I'm not gonna go. I mean, this is in general talk about, one of the deep elements of what they do is the ability of our technology to balance the pH level, which eventually, basically stabilize, the body and give you the health in general. I'm not gonna go all over that, all the effects, but and then, again, this is going to be available to anybody that wants to go. But if we're going to go just to the conclusion, I just want to show you. So this is actually in conclusion, right? So in conclusion, our evaluation of the specially processed mobile tech. So what's the conclusion? The influence of mobile phone radiation on pH of water, the integral influence of electric spinning on human, and emergency measurement, the actual voltage. But I want you to see, what kind of language they've been used. If you're aware a bit of the, the language in law, you understand how strong this it is. So it says result clearly. Again, not sometimes, not we don't know, not clearly indicate the mobile text and imprint seems considerably. Again, so they will prevent variation of pH on both manifest biostabilization property. I don't know if most of you have the ability to understand, what it actually mean, but just in general, forget about everything in the bottom line, forget about biological and chemicals. The pH level in the blood should be about 735 to 745. And basically, as long as you're in that range, you're actually a healthy person. Anything in between gonna make you very sick. So, and this is actually one of the biggest things that, your body do. And actually, I think the only one that can affect the pH on the body, not in direct way. In other words, without mixing, without giving anything, just by having the seam next to you. And this is a very, very serious claim, and that's why it took us over 10 years to prove, that we can do it. This is a repeated test, and on what you see on SAR tests and stuff like that. This is just one of the side of the effect that's actually going to be stabilizing that. But that's the main thing, which is almost impossible. I mean, it's very hard to understand how it's been done. But in general, when you drink, let's say, water, and the water alkaline water, right? So it's high in alkalinity. Everybody know that, when it's higher in alkalinity, you have more concentration of oxygens, and when it's lower in alkalinity, like acidic, so there is more hydrogens. That's you have more ions, hydrogen ions, and that's where it's becoming not good and kind of good. The problem is that anything you're gonna eat, anything you're gonna drink, gonna go through your digesting system, and acidic stomach you have, which is so many times in acidic ways. So none of the pH, high pH, let's say, you're gonna drink or eat, you're really gonna affect directly on your blood. So that's why it's a very complex how eventually you can do it. But anyway, so we say that it's clearly and considerably, right? That's on the pH. And then mobile tech and imprint seems substantially. Again, this is like a very reduced area of spinning. This is another elements that allow our technology to affect that subatomic, or the molecular level, thing, and measure record clearly indicate increased energy and imprint. Okay, so this is basically, again, if somebody wants, you can read it. This is all the science you have. This is what all, the reference, record, research, and everything you want to have. It's all there. So and there is no, and again, obviously I'm from the company, and I'm talking because how and I'm involved. But guys, being serious, when you have somebody online saying something, he didn't put his name, he didn't put his records, you cannot research on him, he didn't actually buy, test, whatever. This is very, very complex things to check. So I have to be honest with you, and we have to rely on those high level people to tell us what it's actually doing. It's the same way when you're buying Tylenol and Advil, in the store. Obviously, you don't necessarily know all the science behind it, but you rely on the people that actually certify it. Okay, so that's going to be just one of the things. Again, we have tons of research. Most of it it's not in it's not in language that everybody can read. But again, we challenge anybody that think he's in the level that can read and understand the complexity and the deep science of it. He's welcome. This is another observation that Dr. Mark Krinker did. So again, if you want it, again, we are open book. We trying to be transparent. This is all about this. This is another element of effect. Trying to explaining a little bit even deeper of the hydrogen elements and how our technology can balance it. So this is just another one available to you anytime. Anybody that want to really go deep dive to the technology is welcome to ask, and we can provide any and all of the research. This is another study. This is by one of the this is the EEG on the brain, trying to again, what we do specifically with our product. We don't give you some vague research that talking about something. When we want to prove our product, we don't give you a research that done in general, but something extremely specific. And this is all with our products, and this all the records you want. It's here for you to go over. Again, this is just to cover it and trying to go over all that elements. It's a very and you can see that we are this is 2012, the other one from 2011. We are really deep and long, so we are pretty advanced of most people that trying even to understand it, and we talk about it already for more than a decade. So this is just for you to understand what's the again, this is actually what we talked about before. This is the actual research that show, if somebody wants to deep dive to see actually the conclusion that they got to that it can cause tumor and it can cause some cancer. Again, if you want, this is actually part which is online and it's publicly held, but if you want, we can forward you part of the things. This is they talking about the thermal, which is another element of it. But this is a test we did again in a lab. This is actually done on a human. So this is actually done specifically and show you all the measurement and everything else. And I want just to people don't realize how gentle everything that we are. They talking about, well, it's not so hot. Yes, so hot. Let's not forget that our body, it's 37 point something, let's say 38 degrees or 97 Fahrenheit, is a health person. But just 2-3 degrees more, that's it, 2 degrees, and you're already sick, right? And 5 degrees, you can be dead. We are extremely sensitive. So imagine when a microwave work a little bit different than thermal, right? So in other words, like, in the microwave, you cook something, and it might be much hotter inside than the outside. And the reason is that waves work with friction, and our brain is 97% liquid. So when the skull is getting, let's say, 1 degrees more, inside it can be 3 or 4 degrees more. And again, we're talking about, like, if you 38 is healthy, 40 is sick, and 44 is dead. This is really what it is. So we don't talk about, people think, oh, but it's a low voltage and it's not so hot. You don't need to be so hot to make you really, really sick. So this is just for you a point to know and whatever. And just the last thing before we close, I just want to tell you that in court, when originally, and again, this is one of the hardest things in court to prove, because again, when you're exposed to so many things, it's very hard to conclude. But Italian court rule, mobile phone use cause brain cancer tumor. In other words, a person actually was able to prove that he got the tumor and the cancer from a cell phone, and this has happened. This is actually see in 2017, and even in court, actually, it's proved something like that. Guy, I think what I show you right now, it's pretty overwhelming, of how when somebody think yes, no, whatever, maybe it's a kind of conspiracy or anything like that. No, this is a real thing, and unfortunately, I have to tell you, whatever again, who's actually mandate the information and challenge the information is the cell phone companies, and they use their own politicians and lobbies and whatever to affect, and you don't get all the information. The matter of fact is everybody know how much we more use cell phone and cell phone technology, and if we can do something just to mitigate it a little bit more, I think it's worth it's worth to take the risk, being smart and being safe and taking any measurement that you can do to reduce your exposure for a better quality of life. Not necessarily just getting a, God forbid, cancer, but just being a better to live better and feeling better. So I hope that helped, and I will glad to discuss and give more information to anybody that want. Thank you so much for your attention on that matter.